right?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that the board of directors don't have to worry about themselves, nor does DNROI or Jake. You could farm that out to a committee and let those people manage that library. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Uh,
that it's not having to be the very few people that actually work for USPSA, but people underneath their supervision.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, what do they keep? They keep touting we have something like 35,000 members or whatever. Surely, in that 35,000 members, there are a couple of people with skill sets that can help get something like this done, and probably would love to be involved.
And probably do it pretty darn quick. you
Yeah.
know.
Um,
So
you know, perfect example, Jay, right?
yeah, yeah, and I guess they're as I understand it. If I have to cut this out, I'll cut it out. But as I understand it, they're looking to maybe redo how they determine people on the super squad, and they may be using his software and the ranking portion of it to determine who's on the super squad, which I think is a
Cool.
good idea.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's cool. The
Yeah.
the point system, gives, people something to follow, and certainly, yeah, could determine super squad, sure. Because up to this point, it's been kind of confusing to me, how they determine super squads now. Um,
Right.
I was always under the impression that it was, the 12 from the previous year or something like that. Um, but the year that I ended up in 12th place, I didn't end up on the super squad the next year. Um, so that's not a hard, fast rule, right?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and let's say of the top 12, let's just use that for an example. 9 are coming back to shoot. Well, who are the other 3? Well, this would be a perfect time to use Jay's ranking software, and you take the
yeah,
top, the highest 3. You're like, oh, here you go. These are the
yes,
3.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah, yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, let's reward, people for, what they're earning. Yeah, totally.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we got to be careful with that segue. um,
uh,
yeah, no, I completely think that that's a great possibility. You know, uh, Jay's come up with a really interesting thing. What other things are
mhm.
people doing in our USPSA committee that we should be celebrating like that? I'd be willing to bet there's more. There's probably people building props that are, no one's ever heard of, but the thing is just amazing and we should reproduce it. There are people who have probably figured out things that they can do in practice score, that not everybody
Oh,
knows
yeah.
about. So let's shout those things from the rooftop, right? Let's share this stuff. Um, Live scoring. Um, you know, Bill Duda and several others have already figured out systems to make that work. Um,
Yep.
and if you contact Bill, my understanding is like he can give you basically a build list of everything that you need to put this together. Yes, let's have more of that, right? Like, if somebody's already done the work and figured out how to get this done, then yes, let's spread this far and wide for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I want I wanted to go back for a second and expand on. So for the Carolina Classic, as you stated, and as has been said by John and Stephanie before, um, those stagers were all created by different match directors within North Carolina.
yes,
Now,
hmm,
my thought is, I love that idea. And if we grew that bigger, like right now, basically, it seems like nationals is basically 3 people putting together all of the stages for the most part. But
yes, hmm,
but what if each area? and match directors within each area then were to submit stages. And then you could literally pick 20 stages that are generated from around the country. And you can literally get 20 different flavors in a match.
Well, you are pulling at my heartstrings now, Dave.
For the record, I am married, so sorry.
So, uh, I absolutely love this. So the theory here is that the stages that ultimately end up in the classic are stages that have been run in some form at the other clubs. That's not always the case. Some of the designers will, provide a fresh design that's never actually been built. But um, uh, I would say the majority, though, submit designs that have already been run successfully at their level one local. And by successfully, what I mean is it proved to be, not only a good shooting challenge, but there was also, shooter feedback, um, crew feedback, that was positive. It was run and everybody loved it. Fun was had by all, the stars aligned, whatever. This stage was great. Let's reproduce it. Um, so we already know that stage is viable. We already know the logistics surrounding that stage. So let's send it up the chain, right? Now it's being run at a level two match where it is going to get another set of eyes from whoever is curating the stages. Um, it is going to potentially get some tweaks. Target presentations are going to change, or um, one thing that we like to do is flip the stage uh, on the 180 axis, right? Like just mirror image
Right.
thing, right? So that you're not shooting the exact same stage necessarily that was ran in the local, but you're using that concept overall that was successful, and then it's going through the NROI approval process, right? Um, so this idea of it starts at the grassroots level and then works its way up. I would love to see that expanded upon even further. If all of the section and or state championship matches within the area put on these stages, why not cherry pick stages from all those sections for the area 6 or area 8 or area 7 whatever championship, right? um, again, those stages were already vetted by NROI at this point. So we already know that from a rules perspective, they are viable for a major. So let's step it up a notch. Let's take it up to the area level. And again, maybe we'll change some target presentations or something. Again, every time a stage gets built, it's never built the same. How many times have you heard, what ends up on the ground is not always, exactly the same as what the drawing has, right?
Well,
Um,
and I'm gonna I'm sharing stage one again
okay.
because here's a very simple thing. Like you said, just flip it on its axis. You could even leave the fault lines exactly as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Take everything on the left half, move it to the right half.
Yep.
So now you have these three steel behind the port and break down those double stack targets. And now you have a completely different stage, which takes 5 minutes to redraw.
Yep. Totally unique stage, but with
Yep.
shooting challenges that we already know to be viable. So
Correct.
yeah, again, I don't from a again, I realize that what we're asking here is a lot, because that would take some coordination or whatever. But this idea that things grow, uh, from the grassroots local level all the way up, right? So again, follow that continuum. Where does that take us? Well, that means that nationals, could potentially be a culmination of the best stages of all of the area matches.
Well, and what I was going to say is all you would have to do is say But like Area 8, I believe they had 6 level 2 matches, okay?
Hmm.
Not including the Area 8. Well, no, I think Area 8 was included, so that's a level 3. But so you had 6 major matches. If they just submitted 2 stages from each of those, there's already 12 stages that are already created that they just send up like their best ones from each major. And if every area did that, you'd have, if every area had that same number
You
and
have
submitted the same, you'd have 96 stages to choose from for nationals, and they're already vetted. So
yes.
there's no real process. They can make a few tweaks, like you said, and boom, there you go.
I mean, I don't know if this is the answer, but you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. uh, I mean, I mean, if we think of this logically for a minute, like this you know, ground up scenario that we're talking about here applies in in a lot of different ways, right? Like, um, from a competitor standpoint, I kind of feel like the progression is, you shoot your locals to prepare for your state or section championship, right? And you shoot the section championship, and that sort of prepares you for the regionals, right? And then that regional ultimately prepares you for national, and this is how a lot of sports work, right? Like,
Yeah,
there is always a local, then there is state, then there is regional, then there is national, then there's international, and so on.
right.
We don't really have that model here. um, what we have are a bunch of local matches that are some are thriving, some are not. Some are really quality matches that uh, follow the rules and treat it with a certain um, seriousness. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for there, but and then there's others that kind of run it kind of outlaw, and it's all over the place. Um,
Right.
but there's a lot of good things happening on the ground that should then work its way up. But I have a dream, that one day, um, both matches and competitors alike are going to progress, on this ground up trajectory, right? Like, um, shooters start out shooting their locals, and then they eventually feel confident enough to go and shoot their state match, and when they experience that level 2 match, okay, now I know, I've reached the next level of commitment, right? And I'm going to work until I win that match, and then when I win it, now I've you know earned my way to go to the regional, and oh wow, now we've progressed to a whole nother level. I need to go back and work on that, and okay, now I've won the regional, and now we're going to go on the national stage. Like, on some level, uh, I would love to see some kind of more of a progression model. And again, I'm just spitballing here. I don't have all the answers. I haven't really given this a lot of great thought. I'm making a lot of this up on the fly right now, um, but big picture, 1,000-foot view. I mean, that looks really good to me. Um, you know,
Now,
Stages work their way up, competitors work their way up. Everything works their way up to the top being the spectacle, right? Like, if you make it to the top, like, you have made it, right? I wish there was a little bit more of that.
all
Mm.
right, now are you saying you feel people should be required to shoot those other ones before like shooting nationals or
Uh, I mean, again, I haven't thought it, through in that depth, but sure, right? Like, I kind of like the idea that in order to get to the level 3, you must have first, you know, competed in
competed at a
level
level
2.
2?
right? I mean, in my head, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I remember going to Talladega one year. I think it was 21. And we're in the registration line, and there was this young fella, you know, really outgoing, introduced himself to me and Robert. Um, and he was an open shooter. Nationals, and it turns out Nationals was the third match ever that this guy had shot. Now, part of me is like, okay, you know, that's probably not how I would have, progressed through this or whatever. I probably would have got a little more experience before I felt comfortable going to nationals. Um, but I mean, this guy was just like, I love, I like this game so far, and nationals is, accessible to me, so I'm going to go. Um, but I would be lying if I didn't, tell you that somewhere deep inside of me, it, kind of broke my heart a little bit that, he hadn't first been, been through the paces, right? Like, um, here he is shooting a national championship, his third match. He hasn't really, figured out this game yet. Um,
Well, when
and
I was there in 2020, Frostproof, the last year they shot it there, um, we had a woman on our squad. It was her very first USPSA match ever.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about that, but there's something in my mind that says that's probably a little too extreme. Um, I don't know. I like the idea of earning your way there. I mean, I'll put it like this: when I talk to friends and family members that are not shooting people, like they know nothing about what we do, when I tell them that I'm going to nationals, their immediate assumption is that, wow, that is a prestigious achievement, right? Like, and I'm like, well, actually, it's not. I mean, you just sign up.
Well, you probably get an invite.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean.
I sign up. You get an invite.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, yes, you understand what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, I do.
So, again, outside of our little world, people kind of assume, that the natural progression in sports in general is that you work your way up to these things, you earn your way to these
Right.
things. I can't really think of any sport off of the top of my head. I'm sure there are some, but I can't think of any where somebody who's never done it in their life can just go to the big show. You know, I mean, I think of it like, hey, I kind of like to play baseball today. I understand that the World Series is happening down the street. I got
That's a
money.
shout out to the Rangers right there.
But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, um, it, I think I've heard a lot of people talk about golf as being, probably one of the more closely related sports. Uh, Again, one of the PGA Tour or whatever what's the big game where everybody gets the green jacket?
Oh yeah, the
It,
Masters.
the Masters. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never played golf before, but I'd really like to try it. And, the Masters is only 4 hours away, and I got money.
they're also earning millions of dollars though. We're not. Nobody's earning $1 million at any match in
Okay,
USPSA.
sure. No argument there.
But
But
I get
again,
your point though.
but again, I have a dream.
Right. Well, and I look at it. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think
Mhm.
there are some cases where that would work pretty well. I think it comes down to it's kind of like handgun nationals, and I'm just going to use that one as an example where they couldn't fill it until they opened up. They opened it up to limited optics, and then it filled up. It went from not being filled to having a wait list. So I think there now you'll never have that. I don't think you'll ever have that issue with like a carry optics where when it's a standalone, there's a 200 person wait list.
Hmm.
Um, but that means there were a lot of slots that were returned back to the USPSA that were
Sure,
released to the
but
public.
there's a whole other argument there. Uh,
Okay, I'm all ears.
well, I'm not even sure if this is a good place to go. I mean,
Well, I can always cut it out.
well, I just I've said a lot of things tonight that I know are going to come back and bite me.
Oh,
But why do we have so many nationals? Right? Like,
we shouldn't. We should have
we-
one.
okay, you said it. You're the bad guy, right?
And I'll say it every time. We should have. Look, this is how I feel. A 1 week all inclusive nationals every year, where at the end you have the big to do at that Friday night. So Monday, we'll just say Monday through Friday, or Wednesday through Saturday, or Sunday, however you want to do it.
Mhm.
But you show up, you shoot 4 days out of 5. You're shooting 5 stages the days you shoot. So you're shooting 20 stages. And at the end, so you pick your division. What are you going to shoot? What are you going to compete in? Everybody competes. It's all done. There's a podium at the end. Like I saw a podium at IPSC Nationals. I'm like, why don't we have a podium at any other nationals? It wasn't all that extravagant. It's just a piece of wood with numbers spray painted on it.
What you are talking about is celebrating performance achievements, and we don't really do a great job of any of that in this game presently, right? I was watching some media post. I think it was Tim Herron, right? He went to some area match recently and won the division,
Yes. Yeah.
but wasn't recognized for that.
Area 2.
Area two. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Um, why wouldn't we recognize that this guy just won that, right?
And when I went and looked, there were 29 people who competed in that division. That's more than enough people to pay for a trophy for first place.
Well, even if there's not a trophy, how about just somehow recognize this person's achievement, publicly
Mm-hmm.
online or whatever. I mean, like celebrating achievement is definitely not um, what our national organization cares about, in my opinion. They care about participation numbers, right? They care about filling the slots for the match. um, I don't work for the org, and I've never served on that board, so I mean I can't really speak to what their business model and motivations are, but I am a shooter first, and it pains me that we don't celebrate achievements, like just about every other sport you can think of. We've got, and I need to be really careful here, though, too, because I'm not saying that this is an elitist GM thing either, right? If you win C class, at your area match, then you just won your class. You deserve to be recognized for that achievement, right? Just like the guys at the top, when they win, everybody wants to watch them, right? I mean, look at any other major sport, right? The superstars get all the attention, they get all the money, they get all the the airtime on TV, and that sells merchandise. It drives attendance, right? People want to be like those people, right? And we got some superstars in this sport. Um, you know, we should be celebrating those people, lifting them up on a pedestal, but instead, uh, they win a national championship. Uh, they get a not so great buffet dinner and a certificate for something that they don't need, that they have posted on Facebook Marketplace before they even get out of the awards ceremony.
Yeah,
uh,
that's depressing.
I hate that for the vendors who contributed, and I hate that for the competitor who is
Right.
not getting something of value. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know what the answers are, but if we look at other organized sports, and I should clarify, I do think of this as a sport. Um,
I do too.
some people think of it as a hobby. Some people are kind of on the fence of where it is, but man, I have put some serious money and time and blood and sweat into this game, and
It Jarrett, it's no different than golf in that manner, in that while golf is not the most athletic sport in the world, neither is curling, but curling's in the freaking Olympics. But it all, whether it's a hobby or something more, depends on how much time and, like you said, money that you invest into it, and how much you devote your life to that. And those guys that are winning are devoting a crap ton of their time
yes,
and effort to it.
they
So
live and breathe this game.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, I have been there where I've, gone so far down the rabbit hole that, my wife had to kind of fish me out if catch my drift.
yeah, yeah, I do.
You know, um,
I've
there's a
been told to
lot of,
reel it in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we work really, really hard. We train really hard. We shoot a ton of ammo. We um, uh, just really put a lot of effort into building these skill sets. Shooting is not a natural thing. You have to learn how to do it and do it well. And like any sport, the people who ultimately are the best, like they are celebrated, and we wear T-shirts with their faces on it. And, like,
right.
like we don't have that kind of. I don't know what the word is. Is it dichotomy? The Anyway, I, I've actually seen some instances where it seems like the top competitors in the sport get sort of talked down about, or down to, from the national org, right? Um,
And that should never happen.
yeah, it's weird.
I mean, unless you catch one of them cheating, that should never happen. Or
Yeah,
being an a hole to other people, out there. But typically, the USPSA, the competitors kind of police themselves with that when it comes to attitude. But
sure.
otherwise,
Well,
everybody deserves respect, whether you're working the match, shooting the match. So
yeah. Well, so again, I don't know what the answers are. There's a lot of spitballing here, and I apologize if I've offended anybody with anything I've said, but I do like this idea of an upward progression, and that would include earning your way to the next level, right? And again, I don't know what the model is for that specifically, but um, everybody goes and shoots their local matches, and then they compete at their state or section level. The top three, competitors from that state match in every division and class, now have an opportunity to go to the next level, or something like that. And then from the area match, the top three in every division and class, get to progress, and so on and so forth, right? I feel like there needs to be some way of earning your way, but also being recognized for your achievement along the way. Um, so take that, for what it's worth. Um, I've been to a number of matches where I've seen some people really put up some incredible performances and walked away with nothing, and no one remembers how they did, right? But you look at something like baseball, like people can tell you the guy that hit the home run in the 1952 national championship or whatever. Like, not that we're ever going to be like that popular, but I hate the idea that there's a lot of people that do some really great things, and a week later, no one remembers, what their name is. So,
Right.
I don't know. We're getting way off into the weeds now. Uh,
That's okay.
let's bring this
I,
back
I
down to shooting. Yeah. Uh, anyway, circling back around, again, I think the people who get the most out of this are the most well-rounded in terms of their involvement, right? People who are going to commit some time to dry firing. You want to get better at this sport. Dry fire is a requirement, right? I know a lot of people that don't do it. You want to shoot more ammo. You need to learn how to reload and do it well, right? You want to be better at breaking down stages. One, you need to, probably attend a bunch of matches, but two, maybe you should get involved and help build some. That'll teach you how to break down some stages real quick.
right.
You
Now,
know,
here's an interesting point. Somebody in the top 5 of my overall shooter of the year told me they do not dry fire,
I know. I
which I thought was like almost shocking. I would say he's in the minority.
Sure, but how
But
much do they live fire? You know,
okay,
that
yeah,
there's a question
and
there.
that's where exactly, and that's where he's making it up.
Yes, I mean, uh, Phil Strader, Sig Sauer now, former USPSA president. My understanding is that he doesn't practice. He just shoots. And I don't know how much truth there is to that. But I've met the guy a couple of times, and like, he is a incredible shooter. Um, and most people agree, like, he just has this talent, and he shows up, ready to play. And when he walks away from the match, like, he's done with shooting for now until the next event. That blows my mind. But, um, I still find it hard to believe that he didn't practice and learn all of this at least at some point, right? So he had to
Right, of course
learn
he did.
this somewhere, right?
He says he lucked into a national championship, but he still has one.
True. Yeah. Single step.
So there you go.
um, yeah. So there are people like that. Sure.
Hmm.
None of these are hard, fast rules, but, nothing ever really is. There's always gray areas. But I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is, I think some of the best competitors are the ones who are also, involved on all the different levels of this game, right?
Yeah.
Um, they are giving back to their community, as well as, taking all that they can get from the community to learn how to be a better shooter, right? Um, you want to go to quality matches. Quality matches don't happen without staff, so maybe consider being staff once in a while. Um, there are a lot of really great matches out there that I want to shoot, and I could go and shoot every one of them and never work a single one. Um, but I kind of made a little rule for myself. You have to work at least one match every year.
So, as someone who is a match director, or at least helps in that realm,
Mhm.
do people have to? So, if someone wants to help at like a Carolina class, like a level 2, a local major, do they have to be an RO to help?
No. Uh, Excellent
See,
question.
that's where,
No, they
yeah.
do not. No, they do not. Trust me, if you are willing, we have things for you to do. There is no certifications required. In fact, we've had some really great folks that, after working the match, uh, decided that it was worth their while to go get their RO certification after seeing what took place at the match, right? Conversely, I've had some people, say that they have no interest in getting certified. They just, are happy to help, and that's cool too. I mean, it takes all kinds of kinds.
Yeah, yeah, and everybody helps.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um,
I'm sure John running the Carolina Classic this year would have loved to have been able to turn people away from staff positions. You know what I mean?
yeah, oh yeah. Well, and frankly, I don't know that that's even possible, right? Like, if we had too many staff people, like we'd probably invent things for them to do. Because,
Okay.
in other words, well, we've never had the staff to allow us to do X, but now we have an overabundance.
Mm,
You know, let's try to do that thing that we always, dreamed about doing. I mean, I think that's how it would go.
okay.
No, we never have enough, but we do amazing work with those that we do. And again, part of it is rewarding those folks. So we were talking about incentives earlier.
Yep.
Um, I'll tell you what. When I work the classic, I feel very well taken care of. That is something that Stephanie has done a really great job with. The staff package is awesome, but for the most part, it's the food. Um, she provides some of the most lit boxed lunches. There's ice cream,
Yes.
chocolate chip cookies,
Yes.
roast
Look,
beef
I,
sandwiches, and
I didn't even work the match, and she was giving me box lunches. I was like, "What? Wow,
yes,
you guys are awesome."
well, the way to any man's heart is through his stomach. You want me to do some kind of labor for a couple hours? Oh, you're gonna have food there? Yeah, that's cool. We can do that. Like, um, no, I mean, like, they're the staff really gets a lot of public appreciation. They get a lot of materials. Like when you sign up through the website, there's a little staff handbook with like tips and tricks of how to run a stage efficiently. There are tips and tricks about what to bring with you, what to wear, what to um, again, all of that stuff that people have figured out already. It has been cataloged into a little handbook. Um, so uh, I don't have to go thinking about, oh man, do you think I should bring a pair of pliers?
Well,
Maybe
and
it would be a good idea to have a staple gun. Well, no, it spells out everything. This is what we're providing you, and this is what you should bring with you. And there, all the questions are gone.
and
Um,
look, I've helped with a Delmarva. I've helped with the Virginia State a couple of times. So I guess three major matches. I didn't help. I don't think I helped Keanu at all with Area 8 up there,
hmm.
but uh,
Keanu,
I had
great stage designer.
yeah. And look, he when we were talking more rounds don't make a better match. He caught a lot of flack one year. I think it was the first year he did Area 8 because he did the 3-2-1
Hmm.
format. And I think the first year the round count was like 186 or somewhere around 200 rounds. And he caught flack for there not being a higher round count. Seriously.
Oh yeah. Well, again, that's a thing. In At Area 6,
Yeah.
for the last couple of years, my understanding is that Bruce, had an expectation for a certain round count, and so it was not uncommon for stage designs uh, to ultimately have targets added to them. Um,
Wow.
and in my opinion, I don't think that made a better stage. Again, more rounds does not equal more fun. Now, I didn't go to Area 8 that year. I do remember hearing all the buzz about that. Uh, I do think that there is a point, where if you're running an area level match, there probably should be some minimum round count floor, but um, that doesn't necessarily have to be in rounds shot in a single stage. That could be in the form of more stages or um, uh, I don't know. I mean, I suppose the question I would have is, how were the stages, right? If we
I
forget about,
loved the match.
yeah, I mean, if we forget about round count for just a minute, if we take
Yeah.
apart each stage, was there any stages there that you thought sucked?
Nope.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why I was agreeing with you. I don't agree that round count should be the deciding factor of whether it's a good match or not. It should be stage design and how well they were done. But
yeah,
yeah, I forgot where I was going initially.
well, I mean, so yeah, I mean, he got a lot of flack with that. Um, yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of where our sport is going, right? More rounds, more 32 round field course, 32 round field course. People want to shoot more bullets, and they want to do it on open targets at 5 yards, um, with 2011 dot gun or whatever. I mean, like we're seeing where this trend is or whatever. But
Right.
I think the better shooters, people who've been in the game a lot longer, they appreciate, um, the more quality stages, and I think it's just an experience thing. Um, yeah, I don't know, ultimately where we were going with that either, but if I shot a national championship, for example, let's say that there were 20 stages and the entire match was 200 rounds. Uh, I would actually be okay with that if all 20 stages were the bee's knees, right? Like really well thought out quality challenges with lots of decisions to make. Maybe some cool activation sequences. Kids love that stuff. uh, but no, I mean, if the stages are good and it is a reasonable means of testing our competitors and determining who is the best in the nation, then that would be a successful match to me, regardless of round count. So,
Yeah. And to me, that's what nationals is about. It's about putting a match on to determine who is the best in the nation in that or those divisions being competed.
yeah. Um, but right now, it's all about filling all of the spaces to nationals, and you know if somebody wins, great. No, I'm being um, facetious there, but I think you
I
get
know.
the point. You
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
what I'm trying to make. In any
That's
case,
where I would prefer to see a 1 week, everybody there, everybody competing at the same time.
yeah. Well, and so I've heard the argument before about top shooters getting multiple bites at the apple, to represent their companies and potentially bring more dollars into the sport, that kind of thing. Um, I I kind of get that a little bit, but the competitor in me likes the idea that I have to commit to this particular discipline, this division, and I'm going to work that through, and work my way up, state, area, nationals, right? um, and ultimately, see where I stack up with the best of the best, right? Um, but I also see the other side of that argument where the top guys at the top, they want to compete in all of them, and they want to represent their sponsors in all of them. Um, we're always seeing the same guys at the top. and rightly so. I mean, if you're the best shooters in the nation, you're the best shooters in the nation, right? Your JJs and your KCs and your Max, uh, to some extent, of course, still Robbie's up there. I mean, like the top people are always going to be at the top. Um, but if we had one nationals where all divisions were represented, that group of top people would grow. It would change. It would be more dynamic. We would see some different names popping up at the top of those lists, and I think that would get kind of interesting.
I do too.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
absolutely believe it would be more interesting.
but then you're also going to have all the haters out there that are going to be like, yeah, well, there were only, 5 revolver guys at the match. So the guy who won, is, he only won because no one was there. Uh, you know, I hear those kinds of arguments all the time. And I'm like, um, if, as long as he was competing against somebody and he ended up on top, then, he won. Why should we not celebrate that, at this event, he's the best of the best that was there. Um, I don't know. Um, we got to be careful because we're getting dangerously close to a segue into, killing an L10 and revolver and single stack and stuff.
I've already said kill L10, and I will take that to my. I will preach that every day till I die.
Yeah, I'm
And and and
that
I
too.
only say that too because as other people have said, if you're going to have a limited 10, then where's your carry optics 10? Where's your limited optics 10? Where's your open 10? You can't just pick one division and go, "Oh, this can have a 10 round division." You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
it's limited but with only 10 rounds. Well, and the argument's like, "Oh, what about those states with only 10 round?" Okay, then what about carry optics 10? What about limited optics 10? What about open 10? You know what I mean? Like it's not just ones. And nobody, three people at Handgun Nationals shot limited 10. That's
mm,
it. And they couldn't fill the match. So don't tell me that there were limited 10 people that wanted in because no, they didn't,
yeah.
or the match would have been full.
Oh no, I mean, I tend to be in the camp of we don't need that division.
No, and that's the only one that I'm saying do away with. That is the only one. Everything else keep.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. You know,
Yeah.
uh, let's face it, I shoot primarily a division that not a lot of people participate in.
But it's a unique division, just like Revolver, just like
Well,
everything else.
that's my feeling
So
as well. I
yeah,
think there's a particular skill set that comes with that. Um, that again, on some level, should be celebrated. You know, guys who shoot revolver, get a lot of flack, but I mean, if you watch how quickly some of those dudes throw those moon clips in there and get back
holy
on,
crap.
it is mind boggling. They deserve to be there, right?
Did you heard my entry for or my oh my goodness. When I had Michael Poggi on,
Mhm.
when I introduced him, I said he probably reloads his revolver faster than you reload your semi-auto.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure
plenty
that's
of people he does. Absolutely. Those
that's
guys in that top 10 of revolver are stupid good.
yeah, and for me, when I'm going to local matches and there's either it's just me, or there are, 5 or less single stack guys, I don't have any less fun. And I don't have any less goals to try to achieve today. And I don't have a shortage of people in other divisions that I can compare myself against to uh, create the metrics I need to take to my next practice session. Right. Um, so, I still think that there's a place for, um, the unique stuff like revolver, like single stack, like production.
Yes.
I'm on the fence about production 15. I mean,
I know, me too.
I shot it in with 10 rounds, a bunch, and I still love that. One thing that I love about single stack that is worth mentioning is I do think it's the only division where there really is a serious consideration of major versus minor. There was a time where I was going to matches with both rigs, a 9 millimeter setup and a 45 setup. I would go and I would take a look at the stages and then I'd pick one. Yeah.
Okay. You
No,
were strategizing
yeah.
legitimately.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
do I really need to have two extra rounds? Or,
Right.
do I expect to shoot a bunch of blazing Charlies and, and maybe a few Deltas, right?
Right.
Um, I really like that dynamic, right? And I don't really know that there's another division where, that's really, you know, a viable thought, right? Like in limited, is pretty much understood. Limited major is, where it's at. Although Nils proved that limited minor is certainly viable and possible.
Right.
I would be willing to bet though that if Nils was given the option to shoot 40 major versus 9 minor, he probably would pick 40 major every time. If that was hey Canic, we need you to make a 40 limited gun real quick for your boy here. No, no, um, no,
I don't
don't do
see
that. 40's dead.
in the
Uh,
next 10 years, I don't see too many 40 cal guns being made.
oh no, it's already dead. They just
Yeah.
don't know it yet.
I'll be honest. I'd actually like to see everything go to minor except for open.
Okay. Um, hmm. I'm not sure I agree with that. I do on
And single stack. I'm sorry, and single stack, because that is typically that that category was a 45 to start.
Mhm.
So it's either going to be open major, single stack major, or minor if you want, and then everything else be minor.
Hmm. Well, but then production and limited are too similar, right? Um,
Are they though? Because look at all the options you have with limited with what you can do to the gun itself. You know,
yeah, but man, some of these Shadow twos make some perfectly fine limited guns. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I've never really thought about this. I like the idea that major and minor is a choice in some areas of this game. Um, and
I,
it all comes down to DVC, accuracy, power, and speed too, right? There's a power element to this game.
there are, but that doesn't mean it has to be for every division.
Yeah, no,
And we're losing. Here's what I think, and I think this is where Nils proved it. We're losing the D part of DVC with major power factor because you can be as sloppy as you want. You just said a delta still gets you 3 points.
yeah, well, two, but yeah.
It still gets you an extra point.
Yes, no, yeah, no, I agree with that. Um, but I also have less rounds in the gun. I mean, there are some trade offs, right?
Well, how many? If you're shooting 40 and limited, how many rounds are you getting in your gun, in your mag, and plus one?
20 plus one. Yeah.
Holy crap! You're like one or two behind my carry optics gun.
Yeah, I mean, I think a limited minor gun is typically what 24 plus one or 25 plus one if you have the
Depends on what
follow
you're shooting.
whatever.
Yep. I mean, you can, yeah,
Yeah,
you
no,
can work it.
yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. Again, I started out very much a turtle. I'm a very accurate shooter.
I still,
Yeah, getting faster, has been a thing, and Major, has kind of helped me on that journey of finding speed, right? Because I'm a little less cautious. Um, Although I also shoot single stack where I have to, basically shoot every stage as if it's Virginia count. So there's a sort of an artificial caution that's, there. Um,
I would be okay.
I don't know, man. That's a good thought.
I would be okay rewarding major power factor with a 4 for a C, but I don't understand how you reward a D, which is barely a hit on cardboard, with an extra point. I don't care if you're shooting 50 cal.
I
That
don't know about
doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I don't know about
That's
barely.
slop.
The the
That's
D,
slop.
the D zone is bigger than you think it is, but yes, it is
Depending on where you hit.
it is slop. But
Yeah.
was I standing still or was I blazing through there and hung one? Like,
Well,
there's
then maybe that's your
yeah,
the
I mean,
clue to
there's
slow
some
down.
other considerations there, that I mean, I think are worthwhile, right? Like, I'm going to make different decisions based on whether I'm shooting major or minor, and I like that
I
decision
agree.
is there, right?
I agree. You are.
If I'm
You
going,
can take more risks shooting major than you
yeah,
can shooting minor.
you know, or um,
Yeah.
or in some cases you could argue less risks, right? Like I'm going to aim maybe a little further away from the no shoot with major, right? So it swings all over the place. I don't know. I'd have to really give that some thought. I still, being kind of an old school dude, I think that there is a place for both major and minor across the divisions. But listening to your points and knowing that 40 is dead, um, it kind of makes sense. At least in limited to just have limited minor. Uh, I also, we didn't really go here, but I am a proponent of combining carry optics and limited optics. Um,
In what way? How would you do it?
uh, I would just have a single division, call it optics or limited optics, if you like that
But
word.
but what would be your limit of what you would allow? And I'm not even going to say gun, but accessories.
Uh, well, I mean, I think it would be where limited optics is now, right?
Okay.
No comps.
Okay.
Um,
So Magwell, that type of stuff. So basically limited with an optic.
yeah, limited
Okay.
optics.
All right.
Imagine that. I mean, the name just
Yeah,
goes.
there you go. Yeah.
Um,
But minor.
yeah, I mean, I do not feel that the two divisions as they are right now um, are dissimilar enough to justify having two separate divisions. Um,
Now, what if you, and this is what I was talking about, or this is what I wanted to get to earlier when we were talking limited versus production. What if you took carry optics and production optics and actually scaled them back to actually production guns? So no craziness on the outside. Um, and then your limited and your production minor would be very different. You know what I mean?
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Then you would have a difference. Then you would basically have, as Ipsic would say, production optics heavy and production optics light, but then with limited optics and carry optics. But I'm with you. I'm at the point where I'm just like, you know what? Just combine it into one.
Yeah, I mean,
Make it whatever you're going to make it, and just have one. You have open, and then you have carry or limited optics, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, let's face it. Carry optics started out completely different, right? I mean, it was 10 round
Right.
division. It was very much production rule set kind of stuff,
Right.
restricted. Whatever. But then it kind of exploded it into this, whole other race gun type of category or whatever. And on some level, I love that because we saw some really cool innovations in the,
Yep.
in the marketplace. And man, I mean, there's some Shadow 2s and Tanfolios out there that, uh, would potentially destroy some 2011s, so lots of cool things happening in the industry there as a result. But I mean, the shooters have essentially spoken. What they want is red dots,
Yep.
mo bullets, and
Yep.
big ass magwells, uh, and as much weight as they can stick on there.
Because everybody wants to be Jay Beal on that reload.
Something like that. I love that you picked Jay though, because he shoots a Walther, which is decidedly light with no magwell. And,
Right.
um,
And it goes back to what we say: the people at the top are the ones putting in the time and the effort.
yes, exactly,
So yeah,
exactly. But
but I don't have to if I have a big Magwell.
right. Let's solve problems by throwing gear and money at it. Yeah.
Okay,
Instead of hard work and
that's
determination.
that's what I'm doing to my knee. I'm throwing money into at it
Yeah.
and hardware, new
Uh,
hardware and money.
I am sorry to hear about that, but we can
I'm
rebuild you. We
excited.
have the technology.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
You will be the $6 million man.
I'm down. I'm all for it. Do everything. We'll do it all. Every joint in the body. Let's rebuild it.
I've heard some people talk about making carry optics more like production optics as a low cap optics division, and as I think about that, the reality is, what was the thing that I said a minute ago? What do people want?
Mo bullets.
Mo bullets.
Right.
There's a reason why L10 Revo single stack production, don't have the attendance. And
Right.
I think you can't, um, uh, discredit the fact that when carry optics, got bumped up to 140 millimeter magazines, all of a sudden it was, you know,
Game on.
game.
Ship comes
That's
in.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, uh, everybody in low cap divisions, that couldn't afford to go
Jump
to
ship.
open, right?
Yeah.
Or,
That's what I
or,
said. I said it was the poor man's open.
or we're not competitive in limited, right? Now all of a sudden, you mean I can use 140 millimeter mags and I can use that red dot that I've been leaving off my, okay, now we're talking, let's play, um, yeah, I mean,
That's why I'm okay with leaving production at 10. Just leave it at 10. That's what it is. That's what it's been. Just leave it the way it is. Because if you
I
move it to 15, you're not, unless you let people fill their mags and it's like carry optics without an optic, it's carry gun, then
yeah.
you're not going to get people in that division.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't think adding 5 rounds is going to bring anybody back to production. However, I do think it's going to change the limited participation numbers, possibly. People who are
Really?
people who are showing up to their first match. Um, what do we
Oh,
always tell them, right? Well, today
yeah.
you're going to load your mags up full and you're going to shoot limited with the Glock 17 that you brought or whatever.
Right.
I do feel like a lot of limited participation numbers come from that scenario. I see it at North Carolina clubs all the time.
Well, and that's when I had the live stream with that panel. That's what they were saying the same.
Yeah. So if we make production 15, you might have some people choose to shoot their brand new Glock 17 in production with 15 rounds because they don't want to go to limited, where these, crazy race guns are with, 40 major. Uh,
Right.
but
And
again,
they still only need 3 mags.
right. Uh,
Yeah.
so I mean that could shift some numbers in that respect, but it's certainly not going to bring people back to production. The people who left production, left it because they, saw a better looking carrot on the other side of the fence, right? Like, um, the people who are real diehard production shooters, if that's really what they want to do, they're going to stay in it. You know, um, your Tyler Turners of the world.
It's exactly what I was going to say. The Tyler
I knew
Turners are
you were
not
thinking
going
it. I knew
anywhere.
you were
Yeah.
thinking it. I love
But,
Tyler. He's awesome. Um,
but you're going to have, but then you still have two things. So the people who are there now who love it will stay. As they age and they have to go to these things, they're going to go to a dot.
sure,
So, and then the new people coming in, the dot on a gun is all the rage for new gun owners anyway. So you're not going to get that many people shooting it coming in. So it's always going to be just minimal.
sure. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but I do foresee there is a time in the future. I don't know how distant, but there is a time in the future where iron sights will be like non-existent. Like, um,
Unless it's
only
co-witness.
yeah, right. I mean, only the real enthusiasts, are going to go.
Right.
And the reality is, I don't know that the generations coming up, are going to generate much in terms of enthusiasts, because the reality is, uh, in America, we want bigger, faster, better,
Yes.
cheaper, whatever, right? Like it's always more of this, more of this. Well, let's face it, red dots is more of this, right? I can be, proficient with, hitting targets accurately at a much faster rate with a red dot than I can learning how to do it with irons, right? Um, So yeah, I mean, at some point, red dots are going to be the only option. I do think that's a thing someday.
And I would add one more caveat, and that is if any the sooner that the Supreme Court, if assuming they do, but if they decide that limiting magazines is unconstitutional, that's going to be another hammer or nail in the coffin for low cap.
Yeah, but
Because even the low cap states now, those people are going to be like, "Woo, fill them up."
yes, no, I agree. You know, um, but honestly, low cap states. I mean, I think a lot of them are, you know, uh, using high cap mags anyway, under either grandfathered rules or they're just not telling anybody. Like, I I'm not. I've never actually seen match video or seen scores from a match that was run all divisions limited to the state capacity or to 10 round capacity.
Well, I just want the Supreme Court to rule it unconstitutional so we can shoot at Cameo.
Yes, oh man. Yeah, that is a beautiful looking range. I've never been there, personally, but I've seen video there. I've saw the aerial view of it, the TVs and scoring systems and internet access, all of the bells and whistles that they got there. Yeah, why wouldn't we want to shoot there? Um, and I honestly, I think that's coming. Um, at some point, I think USPSA will be able to hold an event there, but it'll take a little time. We're seeing a lot, uh, in the political environment where like the requirement to have handgun purchase permits is going away, or
Yeah.
constitutional carry seems to be spreading.
Well,
So it's a matter
and
of
I'm sure you know who Jim McBurnett is.
time. Hmm.
Um,
He's
he and I spoke one time at length at, I think it was the 2021 Virginia State
Virginia.
match,
Hmm.
and
Was at that
and,
match.
and it was I think it was his company. He said that wired Cameo.
Oh
So
yeah,
he was
I
oh
know
he
he's
was telling
involved.
me.
I know he's involved in networking. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was telling me that there's basically 4 live feeds on every single stage there. So
Yeah.
you could run cameras, live streaming, scoring, everything, like 4 different things on every single stage. And it's hardwired in with I forget what level of speed, but that whole state, the whole range could be running this stuff
Yeah.
and not have a hiccup.
That's incredible infrastructure. It would be awesome to be able to leverage something like that.
Imagine a 1 week nationals and being able to stream it.
Well, careful though. I mean, it's kind of tough to stream our game, right? Hit factor scoring is not intuitive to most people, and our stages, don't always offer, the best view advantages. Like, what I'd like to see is more of a delayed um, production where
Mm-hmm.
somebody can go through, edit that footage, get the right views, and maybe overlay some commentary, as well as the scores or whatever.
Now, but this is where I think that one's different, Jarrett, because I agree with you.
Mhm.
And I didn't. I think it was either Nick Walden or Nick Reynolds. I forget which it was. I had put out a survey and got a bunch of responses, and one of them, it was one of the Nicks, was like a Sports Center type of thing would be perfect. And I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. But the thing I'll say about Cameo would be lately, the last 2 years, I've been doing a live stream during day 3, the last half of day 3, just with the podcast and putting up the Practice Score Competitor app and tracking and showing where everybody's going. So you're not even seeing shooting, but imagine being able to sit back now and go, okay, we know shooter Y, who's in third place, is coming up to shoot. Let's go to bay 14 and be able to go to that bay and then talk live when he's shooting.
That,
That is where I think
yeah,
Cameo
that would be
does
cool.
it,
Yeah, okay.
because you could put cameras up high where you could see the whole, they would be static, but you could still see the movement. And I think that's where the production could literally go over the top, because then you could go, okay, now shooting limited, and in second place he's getting ready to shoot on stage 18, let's go there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like that
yeah,
could be pretty wild. It'd be just like golf.
dude, I love the
Oh,
sound of that.
hole 7, Tiger Woods.
Yep, I love the sound of that. But uh,
There's
who
always that but.
who's gonna run all that? You're volunteering to be the guy?
I'm volunteering. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere, and this sort of circles back to where what we were talking about
Oh,
earlier.
now we're the Biden administration. We're circling back.
Well, well, again, you are a USPSA member. You are not working for the org, but you have a skill set that with the right tools, you know, could produce something really, really cool, and you're willing to do it. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, no, yes, I'm seeing your dream, and I'm in.
And Jay and I are trying to work together to do something at Area 8 next year.
Okay, cool,
So I'm hoping we can make that happen.
interesting. When is Area 8 next year?
June 6th,
June.
D
Okay.
Day.
Okay, well, and that's interesting because normally I shoot Maryland in June, and I saw that Maryland, I think, is in the fall next year. So there is kind of a hole in the schedule. Maybe Area 8 needs to end up on my schedule. We'll see about that. Um, cool. Now that you got me intrigued now,
Uh,
and I'm
I
excited
I
to.
really I really think Cameo is a game changer. If there was a way to make that legal, I think that would be the way to finally break through and I'm not going to say bring it mainstream, but at least get it out and be able to do more. And I think the production could make it very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. But you know, here's a just throwing this out there. What if we did go to Cameo and we limited everybody to 10 rounds? Or I don't know what their restriction, officially
I
says,
don't I
but
don't either. It
uh,
might be 15. I don't know.
well,
I mean, you could.
let's hypothetically say that we're going to run it like they do in Canada or whatever, and all divisions are 10 rounds. Do you think people would go?
I think I don't know. I think there's so many. I think there would have to be some absolute guarantees that here's what I would think. I'm not going to modify my magazines to go shoot a match
Yes.
in Colorado.
Yeah,
If
I agree.
I'm allowed to bring my regular mags and I'm limited to 10 or 15 or whatever it is, then that might be different. Where, okay, they're allowing an exception where you don't have to modify your mags,
Hmm.
but you're limited to only so many rounds in your magazine. That might work as long as there is something saying just for this competition between these days, only these people who are registered to shoot this match are allowed to use outside magazines that exceed their capacity limit.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it would have to be something like that. Otherwise, I don't think anybody would do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw that as an interesting hypothetical. Only in that I think there are two camps, right? There are serious competitors that would be like, yeah, okay, I'm in. Again, assuming we didn't have to make any gear modifications, we were just capped at a
Right.
limit, right? Um,
Right.
and then you've also got a camp that I think would not be interested in going because they hate reloads, or like,
Yeah.
or they don't want to carry that many mags on their belt, or whatever the reason is. I mean, I think you get the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Um, and I haven't ever really been able to quantify that. I don't know that anybody can, but the two camps, right? You got competitors that you know I they will adapt and overcome, right? And then you got competitors that will say, "Well, no, I don't want to play that game, so I'm not going." Um,
Homie, don't play that.
that's right. We don't play that. That's right. We're dating ourselves here.
That's okay. You started it. I'm just going along with the trend now. I like it.
Um, it would be interesting to see though who would show up to that match, right? Like who are the
It
dedicated
would.
competitors, right? Um, anyway, I digress. Um, all right, well, what else you got? We're running late into the evening, so
We are.
yeah, my
Let-
wife just sent me a text message, basically saying, it's time for bed, shut up. So um, I have really enjoyed this conversation. Uh, you know, eh, I don't even know exactly what I said. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this recording and make sure that I agree with everything that came out of my mouth. Um, because talking on the fly, who knows, what's coming out of here. But uh, this was cool, man. I mean, I think we touched a lot of stuff. There was a lot.
Way more than I expected.
Yeah, there was a lot less shooting talk and a lot more, match and hypotheticals and you know possibly some politics, whatever. So this was interesting.
It was. It ran the gamut there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, I appreciate what you do. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for taking the time. I think I told you this the last time we spoke. Like, I'm kind of hoping that you and some of the others that are helping to spread the word on different topics are going to be catalysts for change in this community. Um, USPSA is awesome. I don't think it's certainly not going away, but there's a lot of things that we can do better if we all collectively work together and make it better. And the only way that we can come together is for somebody like you to spread the word and get it all happening, coordinated, whatever. So thanks for spreading the word. And beyond that, if you have an opportunity to come down to Sir Walter, come shoot a match with us.
Absolutely.
If you are not able to shoot the classic, we will still be, really excited to see you there as well. So,
all right.
Cool.
Well, thanks for coming on, Gerrit. I appreciate it. It's been a fantastic conversation.
All right, cool. I imagine this one will probably get split into a couple of parts as well, right?
At least two, if not more.
For sure. Well, if you want to do it again, I'm sure I can talk even further. So let me know.
I'll hold you to it.
All right, cool. Well, thanks. Have a great night, and we'll catch you later.
All right, take care.